Hello, welcome to Walsall United WFC.
Good evening and welcome to Ben and Matt Saturday Night Live. Unfortunately, we're not coming live this time. Again, we went to pre-record because Matt is going to go to Aston Villa versus Arsenal on Saturday at Villa Park, not Walsall, at Villa Park. You're looking forward to that one, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously passed Villa Park on the motorway and that, but I've never actually been inside, so should be good. Obviously, like you say, get the right ground does help. I'm not responsible for that one. That wasn't me. To be fair, I should have checked it, but I just listened to what people tell me, and definitely wasn't Walsall when I did actually check. And it certainly wasn't 2:00 kickoff either. But no, it'd be good. Obviously we went down, me, Nat, and John for the first game of the season for Villa. And yeah, they look good. Obviously, they beat Leicester. They've had some good results since then. They're up there now in the top half of the table. And I think, I said this over summer, if I was a Villa fan, I'd be, delighted with some of them signings, good manager as well in place now. Things looking a lot better than last year. So, yeah, I think for me, it'd just be good. And obviously, as much as we hate Arsenal, fair play to them. They've looked, good so far. They got off to a good start. But no, I think, not really supporting anyone, just going as neutral. But I think if I wanted one to win, it would be Villa, just because of the pure dislike of Arsenal.
We all know your dislike of Arsenal and Arsenal fans, pal. But have we gotten over last week's disappointment yet, Matt? Getting jumped 6-0. Have we got over that yet, pal?
Do you know what? I think, yeah. The thing was that the start of the week was just
6-1, beg your pardon. I said 6-0. My bad, 6-1.
That was Wednesday, pal. Don't rub it in. No, I think, listen, the Monday match reaction was, obviously difficult. And even my Tuesday show, we didn't even touch on the game. We just, obviously, for those that saw it, went over emotions as a fan. And not even just like following United, just anything for those that follow women's football as a general and go much other clubs, and for those that follow Lionesses. So it was one of them. It's a really good show. And I think just, it's easier sometimes to speak about after that because you feel different emotions. Like, obviously, we've never been beat 6-1 before. So it was kind of like, it was like something new to us. But yeah, I think it's hard, isn't it? Because you look back and it's easy to obviously, like we discussed Tuesday, say things in the heat of the moment. And not that anybody said anything like harsh and, bad or got abusive. It was all, warranted and backed up. Like, we should have done this. This didn't work. That midfield wasn't great. This position didn't work here. And it was, like I say, it was one of them. You analyse it, don't you? You look through it. But I think I'm just looking forward to Sunday now. I think Emma Curl said it on my Tuesday show. She's grateful that it's Birmingham Sunday and not, like an Arsenal or somebody like that. And obviously we play City next week. So, it's one of them. I think, it's done now. We've got to move on. We've got to learn. And I think it was John that said, there's going to be nobody, and Connor maybe as well, there's going to be nobody more disappointed than them players. They share the same disappointment we do. So it's one of them, I'm pretty sure they'll look to correct that this weekend. And I know we'll get into Birmingham shortly, but yeah, we've got to correct it. And I think just calm it a little bit. I mean, listen, it's one game. It was always going to be tough. And I think this is why after a few days, you're able to look at it from this way now. Well, listen, we knew our backs were up against the wall. They've got quality on the bench as well that they did bring on. And we're sort of struggling. Obviously, Martha Thomas was in knee brace. So it's one of them, I would have liked to see us give it a bit of a better go. But like I say, it's just done now. And do you know what I mean? It's out the way. We're coming up to a new game tomorrow. And yeah, it's just time to kick on now. Put the disappointment behind us. Let's go and beat Birmingham. Let's go and smash City next week as well. That's the one for me now. Obviously, I don't like looking too far ahead, but City's the one. With all them injuries, they were nothing special on Wednesday. I don't care what the scoreline was. Leicester were that bad, but it just made City's reserve tier, whatever you want to call it, look good. And listen, they're there for the taking. We're at home. It's on telly. It's a Saturday. And yeah, just looking for this is it. They'll just bounce back. But that's the big one for me. We have to win that derby now. We really do. Like that is the one. Chelsea's done. Chelsea's got quality. This team now for next week and is there for the taking for me.
Absolutely. And we got bouncing back on the screen, on the banner going across the bottom of the screen there. How vital is it to bounce back this week, tomorrow against Birmingham City? Is it of utmost importance that we do get a result there? We do get the 3 points out of there. And do you think any drop points will be negatively looked at again? Like if we do end up drawing or for heaven's sake, for heaven forbid, we go and lose to Birmingham City. But funny things have happened in football, mate. Is this already maybe a must-win game so early on in the season?
I mean, must win. I'm probably different to most people. I tend to label must win where there's more riding on it. I mean, what is it, the fourth game? So, I mean, listen, you're at a club where there's pressure. There's always pressure to win. So, to be fair, you could class every game as must win. It just depends how you define it. But it is important to go there and pick up 3 points. And I think something that was said on Tuesday between a few of us and myself included, people are kind of having a little bit of a meltdown after Chelsea. And, fair enough, I can understand it. But what a few of us said was, what is success this season? Now, people are saying fourth, that's great. But something else that was also brought up was not dropping points against silly teams. And I think, we discussed, like, if we drop points, and I'm not saying we should, but let's say we drop points against the top three, so City, Arsenal, Chelsea, it's not as much a huge disaster because last year, if you look at, we dropped points against Reading, we dropped points against Brighton. There was other teams as well. So we kind of talked about it from the flip side that, listen, we've lost a lot of quality over the summer. Could we argue we've replaced it? Maybe not, because we're light up top for me and we need some more wingers. But listen, that's another conversation. But we said if we come fourth, give the cup runs a good go, and then we don't drop points. So the Brightons, the Readings, the Evertons, West Hams, Tottenhams, Leicesters, whoever else, as long as we beat all those other teams and then give the top three a good go, we could probably class it as successful. And listen, people may disagree, but I just think for me, bouncing back in a good season is one where, we've got that. And I did say in summer, and a few other people said it, under market's going to be a process. There will be highs and lows. There will be comparisons to Casey, and there was, because people said, oh, Casey only conceded 1 or 2 against Chelsea. Fine. Okay, cool. But, it's one of them where, like I say, just see what we get. Let's get to January and assess it. We know we need forwards. We know we need wingers. We're not daft in that respect. But I just think let's just maybe use this season as a bit of learning. Mark's getting his feet under the table. Like I say, new signings, finding the feet. I still don't think Mark knows his best 11, and that's not even a criticism either. Before anybody jumps on me on the coming days, not a criticism at all. I still think he's figuring it out, and we've seen a couple of chopping and changing. I think Alessia's nearing full fitness, which is going to be huge. But yeah, like I say, just to summarise your question, I think for me, bouncing back is exactly that. Let's pick up the 3 points. It's going to be difficult because they sit 11 behind the ball. Can we break them down? Let's see. But yeah, I think, like I say, I don't know your thoughts on maybe that, what we talked about Tuesday about not dropping silly points, and that can be considered successful. But, I'll let you sort of give your thoughts on that.
That's why I asked if it's a must win already, because we can't be dropping silly points again this season against teams. Yeah. With no disrespect to Birmingham City, but the likes of Birmingham City, the likes of Aston Villas and that, we can't be dropping points to teams like this. We need to be going out there and beating teams like this and beating them comfortably. We see that Chelsea do it all the time. We see Arsenal do it. Even Arsenal with their poor season last season were putting teams to the sword. Mm-hmm. The teams are, again, no disrespect to Birmingham City, the teams of Birmingham City's calibre, Man City do it regularly as well. And if we want to be looking into try and breaking into that top 3, we're going to have to put last week's disappointment behind us, start afresh. And already it is a must-win game for me, because I'll be even more disappointed if we do drop points. Even if it end up as a draw, I'd be
Yeah,
even more disappointed the 6-1 defeat because to Chelsea, because you kind of expect that the champions of England, the Champions League finalists of last season, you kind of sort of expected that a hammering of one of those teams, not in the manner that what we did, because at least four of the goals, as I pointed out before, were all of our own doing.
Yeah, that's
so I'm sure Mark would have had them back in training, well drilled again. So these mistakes don't happen again. I just think that bouncing back is vital, because if we go and have another loss on the back of that, our season could unravel pretty quickly, and before you know it, you're going into Christmas and our form's up and down. You don't want that. You want us to bounce back as soon as we possibly can, and get the right result.
On that, then I've got a question here for you, and it's something I did want to discuss on sort of Monday and Tuesday, but didn't get round to it. Would you say the amount of criticism the manager got after one loss against the best team in the league was warranted? Because obviously you talked about Chelsea, then you're saying, we kind of expect it. And it is, listen, anybody that knows football and actually talks sense, you've got to be kidding yourself to say Chelsea's not got a better team, world-class talent in there. So for me, I've personally felt that, the amount of criticism after one loss against the best team in the league, was it warranted? Probably not. And listen, that's not to say don't criticise, and that's not to say everything was wonderful, because listen, it was far from perfect, and we've all talked about this. But I just think the amount of criticism, were people seriously expecting us to beat Chelsea, or were they maybe just criticising as if to say, we should be doing better? We didn't perform well. It shouldn't have been 6-1 because, like you said, it was 4 individual errors. Because that's not the manager's fault at the end of the day. Yes, he picks the team, but what do you think on that? Would you say it was warranted, the level of sort of criticism and people kicking off?
I don't think it's warranted, mate, but you got to expect that at a club like Manchester United. Everything is scrutinised to the highest level. You look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, for example. He gets scrutinised. He's the one manager that I know throughout world football that gets scrutinised more than anybody. Yeah. And whether that's fair or not is another argument, but you are managing the biggest football club in the world. Yeah. People might say, oh, but your women's team's going to be going for 4 years. But yeah, you're still Manchester United as a brand, as a football club. Yeah. We're all in together, all equal, all red, It's one brand, it's one football team, Matt Skinner will always be judged to the very, very highest and very highest criteria, the very, very highest level. And people will pick apart his performance as a manager. Yes, we all know Chelsea are a star-studded team. Chelsea have got world-class players throughout the whole of their side. Really, they can field 2 teams, and both teams will finish within the top 3. Yeah, that's how good that squad is. And let's be fair, Emma Hayes, I believe, has been building that over a decade now, Yeah,
going into the 10th season.
Yeah, exactly. So she's had the time, she's had the resources, she's had the patience. Whereas Matt Skinner is very new to the job still. Let's be fair, very, very new to the job still. He's not been in it 6 months either, has he?
Yeah.
He's still settling and he's still learning. You said there he doesn't know his best teammate. He won't know his best teammate, I don't think. How many times he's been hampered with injuries? We've had Russo out for a while. Martha Thomas looks like she's going to be out for a little bit now. She was in a knee brace as well. Yeah. We'll be out Millie Turner for quite some time as well. So he's still learning. But I think people love to criticise. What's the word I'm looking for? I think there's some people that just love to moan and love to criticise, no matter how well a manager does. But the problem is, though, when you're moaning and criticising about the Manchester United women's manager, it's because he's manager of a Manchester United side. It's going to get picked up by the media. It's going to get picked up by a lot of people, because of the nature of his job, the stature of his job. Let's be fair. It isn't just as big a role as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. At the end of the day, it isn't the biggest job of his life. No disrespect to Birmingham, where I know he's managed before. No disrespect to Orlando Pride, but this is this is the biggest job he's ever had in his life. I think
I've said
as a
that,
manager,
and the best squad.
And the best squad that he's got, yeah, exactly. So he's always going to be judged to the highest order and to the highest criteria, you know. But I do think, I agree with you, though. I do think some people go over the top. Some people, like in the case of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, just waiting for that first slip up.
Yeah.
And they'll never let it go. And it'll be weeks and weeks. And then it'll take a couple of wins in a row. And then they'll go crawling back under their rocks, you know.
Well, this kind of leads me on to my next point, because it's interesting because, like you say, it's almost as if, and it's something, again, Connor mentioned Tuesday, it's almost as if the wait for the manager, and this is including the men's, to fail, to then sort of knock them down. And it tends to be, I think, what I notice is there's big meltdowns on losses, men's and women's, you know, and there's quite a big divide, you know. When there's losses, there tends to be your ones where it goes for me too far and they say, well, we've lost, get the manager out, do this, do that. And there's ones where they look at it our way, where we say, well, look, the midfield wasn't great, the forward line, whatever, this didn't work, that didn't work. And it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because there is a big divide, like you're saying, the sort of, they're looking for that slip up. And it's like you said, you know, obviously at the start, people were sort of, there was a split, wasn't there? Do we want Mark Skinner? Don't we want Mark Skinner? And then we come in, he's done really well, he speaks well, and we've got our first couple of wins, and people kind of changed and they were like, great, yeah, we've got this. And I love the way he speaks. And then one loss, pal, it seems like, I don't know, like everything just come crashing back down to the summer when he was first employed. And there's like, you know, people just waiting to slip up. But then, like you said, you know, if we beat Birmingham tomorrow and then we go and beat City next weekend, everybody's going to be up here again. Everybody's going to, and it's really interesting. This is why I loved on Tuesday to talk about the emotions, because it's very up and down, and that's what football is. But I don't know if you want to talk on that sort of like the divide on losses and the, you know, the meltdowns, you know, too much, correct, not correct. How should people approach it? I mean, because everybody's different, aren't they, with their emotions and sort of what they say.
To be fair, though, as well, mate, a lot of it is like if their favourites didn't get the job, say, for example, we've seen some of the meltdowns when they got the job, you know, and it's the same with players as well. It's the same if we don't sign someone's favourite player, but we sign someone else, they'll have it in for that person, no matter who it is. And as soon as they fail, they're right on their backs, you know. Told you we shouldn't have signed him. It was a mistake, blah, 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 blah. You're never going to please a lot of these people. I find constructive criticism is good. It's healthy in football, you know.
Sure.
And you're not always going to agree all the time, you know. And we're not here to upset people, you know. At the end of the day, some things have to be said, some things have to be said. You know, fans pay a lot of money, you know, especially match-going fans pay a lot of money. Yes, I know it's not as expensive as going to watch the men, for example, but some people still pay a lot of money to go watch a team home and away, week in, week out, you know. So we don't mean like to upset people, upset players, upset management. Sometimes things are said in the heat of the moment, you know, but at the end of the day, just like somebody that's probably paid to give an opinion on TV, your pundits and what have you, that they might upset somebody by saying, well, this person's not good enough, they didn't have a good game, why are they in the team, blah, 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 blah. You know, but it just seems to be frowned upon that sometimes when the fans have the opinion, it's like, oh, you're not supporting the team. Well, hold on, yes, I am, because I'm there every week. I travel the distance. We drive there. We you know, we turn up to a pre-season game, you know, go cheer them up in Glasgow, you know, in Norway as well when we travel that time, you know. I just think that there's some things that should be said that should be allowed to be said, and I think you know. And it's never against the person, you know. It's never a personal thing, you know what I mean, against that person. It's just that you want to see the person do better. So sometimes you might say something that's maybe deemed a little bit too harsh, a little bit too critical. But you say it because you want the best for the player. You say it because you know how good that player is, or you want that player to go to the next step, you know, in their journey of their career, you know. But there's some out there that will take it so far. They'll start hounding players on social media. They'll start hounding the players' families. And that's the wrong way to go about it. It's like, have a day off. You just sit at home while we go travel up and down the country, you know. Yeah, it seems to be the match-going fans that seem to be the ones that bear the brunt of the frustrations from people, you know, that say, oh, you shouldn't say that, you shouldn't say this, you're not allowed to say, do this, why have you said this about this person?
Yeah.
But it's a fine line. It's a very, very fine line for me, I think.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on, because I noticed, I think it was either Sunday after the game or possibly Monday. I saw Mary Earps reply to Vix, and she was saying, you know, she's seen some horrible abuse on the app. And, you know, I had a look at a couple of the replies, and, you know, I don't want to out people, but some of the abuse was coming from people that aren't match-going fans, you know, that can't get that sense of perspective. Some had probably never even watched a team. And like I say, I don't want to, you know, knock fans and where people are from, etc. But a lot of it was people that have never probably likely been to a game in their life. And I just think, you know, this is the trouble. Like you said, you know, we are turning up no matter what every week. And like you said, you're entitled to it. But I think that's where, as a general, sometimes it kind of goes to pot, because people like that are abusing, that are never going to see them in their life, but they're just seen as fans. It's like everybody together, which we are. But it's like, do you know what I mean? There's like certain ones. I think it's like Vic said, you know, the proper fans, the ones that, you know, go everywhere every week, that watch games, even those that, you know, watch regularly on telly. It's easy for a fan to look at it and think 6-1, I've never seen it, crap, you know, and kind of go from there. But like you say, it's never personal. It's never meant to upset anybody. Just because you want everybody to do better, like you said, you know, everybody wants to win, everybody wants to improve, everybody wants to do better. And I think it's just difficult from that respect. Again, like I say, fine lines between going too harsh and like being constructive. But it's one of them, you know, like you say, fine margins. We all want the best. And sometimes it may come across as like criticism or aggy, but, you know, other times it's like I say, just the pure passion and the willingness and wanting to win.
Yeah, and if I could add as well, just to add to it as well, a lot of us are coming from the men's game, and sometimes frustrations do boil over in the stands. You know, again, it's nothing personal. You know, I've been Southampton away this season, and for example, for the men, and I was quite literally in front 3 rows. Maguire miskicked the ball out of play, and I said, Maguire, get in the game, son. You know, that's the polite way I put it. I did put an F-bomb in there as well, you know, and it's just like that sometimes, and I think that's where the divide comes from as well. Sometimes some people question, you know, oh, you're a bit disappointed. Why would you support the team? Well, I am supporting the team, but I am allowed to air my frustrations as well, you know. I don't think a particular player is playing very well, or a particular decision a manager's made was the right one or something. Everybody pays their money, you know. Everyone's paying their hard-earned money to go to these games, to watch these games. I think the problem with me for women's football, I think it's too nicey. It's too, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't say this, you can't say that. It's football. You want to attract the bigger audience. You want to sell out these men's stadiums where you're going to get the men's fans eventually are going to all start coming across. You know, you want to fill out Old Trafford. You want to fill it out with hardcore Reds. You know, and these demand the very, very highest of the high level of performance. You know, even when things aren't going right, you know, they'll always stand by the team. They'll always stand by. You know, we always stand by the team, you know, at the end of the day. But yeah, it shouldn't be frowned upon if you call an individual out in the stands. Maybe you say, come on, get your head in the game, you know. It's only because you want them to do well. It's not because you don't like them or you dislike them, or because they're not your favourite, you don't want to see them on the pitch. It's nothing to do with that. You just want to see them give them the best performance that they can out on that football pitch. And if levels has dropped, then it should be. It shouldn't be frowned upon that fans then go and give their opinions, you know, voice their concerns that levels have dropped. I say it maybe because I'm old school and I come from the old school sort of fans, you know, where we had like leaders like Brian Robson and Roy Keane and Paul Ince and Eric Cantona, Wayne Rooney, Nemanja Vidic. These are all call out performances on the pitch. Someone who's not performing to their ability on the pitch, those players become the first ones on the back calling them out. I just think women's football needs to just tune down the nicety a bit. Don't be too shocked when fans maybe are going, "Oh, come on, a bit more of that." We need to be first to that ball. You need to be winning the header in the air, for example, and all that lot. Because at the end of the day, that's trying to improve their performance. That's trying to get them to, just up their levels a little bit, wake up, step out of their days or whatever it is they're in. But what I don't agree with is people on social media that go and abuse players, or people that will abuse players in person. That's totally wrong, man. That's totally out of order. And I don't condone any of that. Yes, we all get a bit frustrated. We all might say the odd negative thing in the stands, if you call it a negative a thought in the stands, when you're like, "Oh, come on, such and such needs to up their performance because we're getting totally run over in midfield, for example, or they need to start tightening up at the back because they're running through us completely." I just think I think that the women's game be far too protected for far too long, or you can't say this and that because it might hurt the feelings. Well, they play professional football. You play at the highest level you could play at.
Yeah, that will obviously listen. What's the word? It's going to be magnified the bigger it gets, and the more, like you say, the more men's fans come across. Because at the end of the day, one, that's what men's fans are used to, and two, in order to grow and improve, you want that spotlight. Listen, Sky has already brought an increased spotlight and increased coverage, and like you say, with more eyes on it. And I think this was a point again made by somebody on Tuesday. You've got to decide whether you want to grow it and increase attendances and fill stadiums, or you want it too nicey and can't say this and putting people off. And I think, when you are growing, like I say, it will get bigger, and there will be, it's bound to happen, isn't it? More eyes on it, more fans coming, more people questioning this, because that's football. At the end of the day, football is a game of opinions. Fans agree, fans disagree, people say things, people kick off, and it is what it is. But you spot on. I think the more, like I say, the more it grows, basically, the more there will be. And like you said, there is a fine line between abuse and going far too far. For me, somebody saying, "Oh, well, such a body didn't have a good game," or, "Oh my God, how many misplaced passes did such a player make today? They need to be better next week." That's not criticism, really. That's just mild and saying that you want better for your team. There's nothing wrong with that. I'd expect in our day-to-day jobs for the pair of us, if you was like, I don't know, let's say with your parcels, you'd stacked them and they're a bit wonky and they're about to fall down. Somebody said, "Well, Benny, come on, that's not good enough. If they fall down, this is going to happen. I expect better," because you could hurt somebody. That's not a criticism. That's just saying, do you know what I mean? You need to, and it's no different for them. Like you say, at the end of the day, it's football. It's a professional game. It's a professional environment, and everybody should be treated the same. You can't say, "Oh, well, don't do this," but then you turn up at the men today after or the day before and you're hurling all sorts of stuff. So it's a fine balance, really, for me.
To be fair, mate, let's be fair. No matter what we may say, man, in the stands, but proved it right at the end. We all sang, "Oh, we love United." We do, don't you know what I mean? And we all sang through the interviews. Yeah, you know what I mean. And obviously, we tried putting the Chelsea interviews off as well by singing. Fair play to Emma Hayes. She played up to it for a bit, wouldn't she? With the old, "Come on, then go and sing." Then I know you want to sing. So if that doesn't show support for the team at the end of the day, I don't know what will. We can have our own little grumbles, we can have our own little moans, but at the end of the day, no matter what the result is, we'll still clap them off the pitch. We'll still sing them off the pitch. And that's the way. That's where United have always have been. But I'll move it on now because obviously time's ticking. Birmingham City, pal. You'll know a little bit more than I do about Birmingham, but obviously Mark's going back to the place where he originally made his name. I should think, so to speak, in the women's game, made his name at Birmingham City. Dude, I just see this one playing out, pal. And I'm not so sure if he's actually froze. He's actually froze. Oh dear. And I knew something. I knew it froze. He's been kicked out. Sorry, he's just messaged me now. Here he is. He's back. He's back. He's been kicked out, but he's back.
Literally went, something's gone wrong, and just kicked me out. I'm like, oh my days. I was getting ready for your moving on section.
Yeah, I was about to move on. I was about to say, yeah, Birmingham City.
It always happens to me, though, doesn't it? Like, and then we go, the Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi was fine.
It wasn't. It's been fine. He literally just messaged me a few minutes before that. Am I lagging? I said, no, you're fine. Anyway, on to Birmingham, pal. As I was saying, Matt Skinner's going back to a club where where he's made his name, really, to be fair, in the women's game under management now. How do we see this one going? Is it going to be a happy return for Mark?
I mean, I'd like to think so. I think the thing is, like I said, I watched Birmingham last Saturday against Everton. And to be fair, in the first half, Birmingham were all right. They kept themselves in it. Obviously, they didn't have much of the ball, but Everton did nothing with it. So that means nothing. They scored a decent team goal. I don't know. It's one of them. I think because of the way they set up, it was. I think it was supposed to be a 4-5-1, but in the end, it ended up a 4-6-0. And that might sound harsh, but that's the way it looked. They were. I don't even know if you can call it well drilled and organised because they're still losing games. They've not picked up any points, but I fully expect them to sit back and to kind of keep it tight. Obviously they've got quite pretty much a whole new squad, which, for a whole team is going to probably take time to gel. And like I say, in patches against Everton, they looked all right. I think the second half, they were better than the first half. And just lapse in concentration and little things meant that they lost the game. Obviously, Rambo can't play because, she's on loan. So that'll mean a change in goal to Marie Hourihan, who's ex-Brighton, ex-Man City, and ex-Chelsea goalkeeper. So an established international. But yeah, I just think with Birmingham, we need to find ways to pick them apart. We need to break them down. Something we've struggled sort of last season and the one before in the WSL was to break teams down that sit. And I'm fully expecting them to sit and maybe try and hit on the counter. But I just think we need to be on our guard in terms of how we play, how we move the ball. Like I say, breaking that team down, that's the biggest thing for me. We've got to be clever. We've got to pull players out of position. And just look for something different. Can we get the edge off a set piece, a free kick or a corner? Can we change up who takes those set pieces? Questions about, Alessia played 45. Is she now fit to start? And does she maybe play 60? And then we swap her. But then it's the question of who've we got to swap? Fuso, maybe. This could be a game where, for me, I talked about wanting to make changes. I don't see why, if she's not starting, why she can't come on. I think it's one of them with Fuso. Do we play her as a 10 behind the forwards? Do we play a wide? There's a lot of discussion, but I think for me, Leah, and I'm sure she won't mind me saying this and she'll probably agree, she's not really found her levels yet. Now, people have said she has had COVID and it's maybe affecting her. Fully understandable. In that case, that's fair enough. But for me, there's no reason why, Fuso can't even come on or start. And I think just changes, I'd like to see Vilde Borisa back in the midfield. Hayley Ladd came on, probably wasn't the right substitution, but she didn't do much wrong. I thought she was okay. Listen, everybody was off, but she was by no means the worst midfielder on the pitch and by no means the worst player on the pitch. So it's going to be interesting for me, our approach to it. Again, does he make changes? Does he stick to false nine? Does he even stick with the same team and think, well, actually, you know what? Maybe they need to redeem themselves after last week's kind of bad performance. So there's lots of questions, but like I say, from a Birmingham point of view, I'm fully expecting 11 behind the ball and hitters on the counter where they can.
Since you know Birmingham a little bit better than I do, and you've seen them play a little bit, who's the player that we've got to watch out for? Who's going to be their danger player?
It's difficult. I mean, to be fair, Jade Pennock was very good against Everton last week, and she scored the goal. And like I say, it was a good team goal. It was well worked. Nice finish into the bottom corner. So she looked good. Obviously, she came in from Sheffield, stepped up a league as well. They've got experience at the back. Louise Quinn, the captain. Again, very experienced player. She's tall. She's physical. So, that'll be somebody, especially if we concede corners and free kicks. That's somebody that we should really be mindful of, especially in the air. I don't know if Christy Murray's back from injury. She didn't play last week. She's there. Lucy Quinn and Lucy Witt as well. Both, were reasonable players. Somebody I'm sure fans will be well aware of, Libby Smith as well, for the famous celebration a few years back. So there's a couple, they've got players that could potentially cause issues. I mean, I don't mean to be rude and say I'm not worried, because at the end of the day, that could come back in my face and, if one of them scores. But it's difficult analysing sort of teams lower down, but they're the players for me that we need to just, that's probably, those players I've named, probably they're better players. And obviously, when you're coming up against other teams, you always try and put across your views on their better players. So that for me, yeah, just a few there to sort of look out for and be on our guard. But yeah, it should be interesting. Obviously, we're at St Andrews as well, so bigger pitch than Solihull. So.
Yeah, on the St Andrews pitch, obviously this is going to be a full size professional pitch. Do you think, with the way that Matt wants United to play, do you think that'll benefit us a little bit more room to get in behind the fullbacks and that, a little bit more room for our fullbacks to then get forward as well on the overlap? Do you think that may play into our hands playing on a Birmingham City, St Andrews on a Birmingham City men's pitch, that rather than Solihull Moors where it is a little bit more tight and compact?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, listen, pre-Leicester game, I spoke about the pitch, and I said, do people think that we'd maybe struggle on it or do well? And to be fair, it played into our hands, I thought, personally. Like you said, there's more room in midfield, there's more room out wide. We used the ball really well. You only have to look at Tooney's goal to see how much room she found in the middle and space. And okay, from their point of view, she should have been closed down, but listen, she still found that room and space, and it happened multiple times. And I think we hit the post 3 times, the bar a couple of times, and we seem to have a lot of success. So listen, that could massively play into our hands. Obviously, listen, Birmingham are going to be used to it because they're playing on it weekly, but that doesn't matter to me. We've shown that we were capable there. We've shown in previous seasons, I think of season 1, we went to the Etihad. Okay, we only lost 1-0, but we had chances. And I don't think now that the pitches are really playing a part in terms of Man United. Listen, they may do to other teams, but I think in terms of us, like I say, Leicester, we exploited it and we found the space. And, I'd fully expect similar at Birmingham. But it's just nice, isn't it? I mean, listen, I'm not a huge fan of going to men's grounds just because they're not full, and I don't like... it's like I said to you, lot, we were sat sort of separate for Leicester, but couldn't hear it. And that's because the noise doesn't carry unless it's full. And it's a small section that was full. And, Birmingham, there's 2 blocks open. And I just think a 30,000 seater stadium, why? But I mean, listen, this is a debate for another show. People are for men's grounds, people are against men's grounds. But, it is what it is. We've got to stick with it. But in terms of the pitch, I'm not expecting too many issues. I think, to be fair, if people are blaming the pitch, I'd have to question everything. You'd have to question the fitness. You'd have to question just the whole lot, wouldn't you? People shouldn't be saying, oh, well, we lost because it was a bigger pitch. Well, no, you lost because your fitness was crap. Do you know what I mean? Or you lost because whatever. But yeah, I'm fully... I could say fully, like you say, find them gaps, really.
Absolutely. And I think St Andrews, 2 stands are still shut there. I'm pretty sure there is for structural work and that. I don't know if they're back open yet. I know they were a little bit behind with getting both them stands back open. So, but as you said, though, we've only got 2 blocks open for sale, then that is pretty poor on Birmingham's behalf. But let's be fair, no disrespect to Birmingham, but yeah, they're not a Manchester United, they're not a Manchester City, they're not a big, well-supported team. Yes, I know Birmingham is the second largest city of the UK, but we've got a number of football teams in that city, so it's probably not going to attract too many there. But I'm all for playing on a pitch. I think on a big professional pitch, not saying the other pitch ain't professional, by the way, but a big sort of men's pitch like St Andrews, and like I said at the King Power, where it played into our hands. Because I think the way that we play, the way we like to play, I think the more space that we can find, and obviously the pitch being bigger than what it would be at Solihull Moors, I think it suits us down to the ground, I feel. And let's just hope we can use that to our advantage again, against the Birmingham side. That, listen, no disrespect, we should be beating these. We should be walloping these. And really giving them a sort of, when a big team's lost or they've got hammered one week and then next week it's the bounce back time. You fear the backlash. I think it's time that we gave someone a backlash and someone a good hiding ourselves. Just to show that we are back. We will not be phased. We will not let this Chelsea disappointment sort of get us down too much, and we need to bounce back as best we can. Well, what do you reckon? What's your score prediction? Anyway, what we'll say for score prediction, pal?
3-0 win. I wanted to go
3-0.
more, but I just, like I said before, I think the fact that they're going to sit in, I think 3-0, let's claw a little bit of goal difference back from last week's shambles. And I'd take that. Listen, it may be more, it may be less, but I just, listen, the win's the main thing. Listen, if it's 1-0 and it's a scruffy goal, I'm not bothered, mate. Like we talked about at the start, just about bouncing back. Let's get the confidence back, just get the pride back and everything else and get the win. But I'm going to say 3-0, fully expecting us to keep a clean sheet. I'd be disappointed if we don't. And I think 3 goals is reasonable. Again, it's difficult because injuries and things dictate, but, Hansen's doing quality. Tooney's on fire. Leslie come back and got a goal against Chelsea. She could have had a second of that absolute rocket not come back off the bar. So listen, there's options, isn't there? But I'd fully expect at least 3 for me. But what do you go? Are you going higher, lower, conceding, not conceding?
I think we get a clean sheet. I think we will get a clean sheet. I think things will be tightened up a little bit. What am I going to go for? I'm going to go for, you say 3. I'm going to go 4 then. So I'd have gone 3 myself, but I don't want someone to go, you copied off of Matt, you chicken. So I'm going to go 4. But I don't think we're going to concede, mate. I think Matt would have us well drilled, and he'll have us well drilled and well organised. I think, and I think we'll bounce back and we won't concede. I don't think. I just think, it's about time we go out there and give somebody a little bit of a hiding, So 4-0 will do me.
Frustrations out from last week.
Yeah, exactly. It all depends, I think, if the false nine's in play again, or whether he does go for a striker up top, whether he does give, I said, Leslie Russo, give her 60 minutes from the start and then bring her off, and then maybe even, as you said, give Fuso. That's someone that I'd have bought on. And he looked to bring her on, didn't the last match when the full-time whistle. I'd have bought her on 20 minutes before he even thought about that. Give the young girl a chance, see what she can do. I would like to see her given some game time, given some minutes.
I mean,
sorry, pal, as you were.
Yeah, I mean, I expressed my disappointment in that because I think, we held her back from internationals to give her, or so they said, to give her minutes. And then, like you said, it was far too late to try and bring her on. But I think, like I said before, I'd try and look to at least work her in somewhere. This is the team to do it. The lower teams where she can come on, she can just, be given an instruction, say, right, go and do what you can do. And sort of, I'll give her confidence as well. And I think, that's the way to do it, bring them in and slowly, like I say, integrate her. And listen, we've not seen much of Fuso. Obviously, we can only comment on when we saw her in Glasgow in pre-season.
Yeah.
But apart from that, we've not got a lot to go off due to injuries. So I think, now's the time. She's obviously fully fit. So now's the time, like I say, just give her a chance. Otherwise, it makes a mockery. Why have we kept her back from internationals? I can understand due to COVID and concerns in that, fine. But barring that, was it fair? That's a conversation the club and player will have, but to hold somebody back on the promise of game time and then to not get the game times a little bit doesn't sit too well with me. But that's just me coming from that sort of background, and like I say, we don't know the conversation and we don't know the ins and outs. And she did play the development game last Wednesday. But yeah, for me, like I said, I'd like to see her come on. We may be surprised. She may even start on that left-hand side, in place of Leah. If Leah's, like I say, struggling with sort of fitness and, having had being ill. But yeah, let's see what we get.
Absolutely. As I was going to say, so I've completely forgotten. I'm on the top of mind then. But anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up there anyway, pal. Because obviously when we do this pre-record, we can only do an hour apparently. Boo. But yeah.
So it happens when John doesn't pay the bill.
Yeah. It's true, mate. It's true.
Too busy spending it on these birds from Coventry.
Yeah, that's true, mate. Oh, my days. Anyway, schedule going up on tomorrow, pal.
Yeah, so obviously schedule up tomorrow, obviously the weekly catch-up as well. And then there'll be a little bit of on-the-road content because obviously we're obviously an evening kickoff. So there's a fair few of us now out and about. So obviously John, Natalie, Connor, and a load of other people are now going to Stourbridge. They're playing Sophie's team. For anybody that knows Sophie, friend of the show, the hairdryer treatment. Stourbridge are playing against her team, so
Kidderminster,
Kidderminster. So there's a lot of people going down to that. That's a 2:00 kickoff at Stourbridge, and then obviously myself and Gareth are off to Leicester as well. Obviously, we've got 3 former players there, so yeah, obviously schedule weekly catch up, little bit of AFU on the road as well, match day content, and then obviously we all meet up at 6:45 for the Birmingham game, and obviously we'll bring content for that. So Sunday's actually a really busy day content-wise. Those that follow women's football as a whole and follow us for our content maybe of women's football specifically, as well as obviously Man United, Sunday will be a good opportunity. Lots of content, lots of videos, pictures. Yeah, just a good footballing weekend. And obviously, as you mentioned, Saturday there'll be myself, John, Nat, Gareth again bringing a little bit of content, from Villa and Arsenal. So yeah, busy weekend, and then obviously we start the merry-go-round again. Obviously Monday we'll be analysing the Birmingham result. Tuesday I'm back. Wednesday Natalie. Thursday, Friday, and back to Saturday. So yeah, busy as always. Obviously Gareth and Anthony's shows have returned now after the international break, so keep an eye out for those. But yeah, so far so good. And like I say, it's just about now just getting back to that winning mentality and up for Sunday.
Absolutely. Right, we're going to end it there then. Let's hope we bounce back tomorrow. Let's hope we bounce back. Have a good win and everybody's happy again. So until next week, we will be back live, hopefully. I'm pretty sure we've got nothing on, have we? No, we haven't. So we'll be back live. So we'll be back answering your comments, answering your questions next week. But thank you for joining us, and we shall